Good evening, everyone. My name is Greg Teator. I am an Aflac representative, actually a district manager for Aflac. Been with them for about 19 years. I'm here tonight, but invited by Gabriel to talk to you all about how supplemental benefits can impact your income in a positive way, especially based on what's going on in the marketplace and the increases in premiums or the reduction in benefits. I'm going to take just about 10 or 15 minutes and go through some things with you. First of all, on the screen is my contact information. You're welcome to take a screenshot of that or whatever. I live in Fuquay-Varina, but I service everybody throughout the state of North Carolina. I not only do Aflac, but I've been doing other types of insurance, life, health. I do marketplace too, all that stuff. Same thing as Gabe does. So very familiar with what y'all going through. But tonight we're going to talk about Aflac because that's my specialty. So real quick, a little bit about the company. I don't want to go into a lot of stuff, but we've been around since 1955, started by three brothers in Columbus, Georgia. Paul, Bill, and John Amos, affectionately referred to as PB&J. Paul, Bill, and John, that's how I remember them. I started the company with life insurance, then introduced a cancer product, which is what Aflac is really famous for now. All the way to date, just an amazing company. The CEO, Dan Amos, has been at the helm for 25 years, still running the company. This slide right here that I'm showing talks about ethics, and Aflac has been recognized as one of the world's most ethical companies, and that rating started back in 2006, and that goes all the way through 2025. That just happens to be an old slide. So you're dealing with a company that cares about the policyholder. They bend over backwards to pay claims because they know that you have other choices. It's not like your health insurance, car insurance, where your choice is limited. So anyways, what is Aflac? So let me tell you what it's not. It's not auto insurance. It's not homeowners insurance, and it's not medical insurance, although it's closest to medical insurance of everything. Basically, what Aflac is meant to do is to supplement your major medical and give you an extra layer of protection. Okay, and I'm going to go through some details in a minute, but when you have to use your health insurance, you have what involved with your health insurance? Co-pays, deductibles, out-of-pocket maxes, all kinds of other fees they come up with. Anyways, those kind of things add up. All right. But the thing that really hurts is when something big happens to you and now you have an injury or an illness or something that affects your ability to work and you can't earn a paycheck. So now, not only do you have these medical expenses that, yeah, you can pay overtime a little bit for, but you don't have a paycheck coming in because you're out of work. That's where we come in. Okay. And so the plans tonight I'm going to show you, they don't include a disability because that has to be done through a business. If you do happen to own a business, by the way, that has 3 or more employees, we can run Aflac through your business. But if we're strictly talking to individuals tonight, let's take a look at why someone would need Aflac. So the pie chart on the screen basically shows medical expenses involved with an event. Okay. So the orange pie chart shows where your major medical pays: doctor, hospital, drugs, radiologist, surgery, anesthesia, etc. But again, when something significant happens, what major medical doesn't do is it doesn't pay the employee, doesn't cover the loss of income. And believe me, if a diagnosis is cancer or a heart attack or something, sometimes both the family members get hurt in terms of their income because a lot of times the spouse is the one taking the person back and forth for treatments. Out of town treatments, again, you're going through cancer treatment or something specialized with a heart and you have to drive more than 50 miles for treatment. Aflac covers that kind of thing. Leftover out-of-pocket medical bills, your reasonable and customary charges, copays, deductibles. You can use the Aflac money to cover that stuff. Or as I did in my case, after I got paid for open heart surgery, I went out and bought a boat. Anyways, that's just because I had a low deductible and low co-insurance, and basically my medical bills were paid for, but Aflac paid the exact amount they said they were going to pay. So the big key at the bottom is your everyday living expenses, your house payment, your rent, your car payment, all that stuff goes away if your paycheck goes away. So let's talk about a paycheck going away. Where do people go? Well, let's first of all take a look at what happens when someone has a medical event. Basically, 66% of the bankruptcies in America are due to medical issues. Okay. Probably no big shocker there. But 50% of employees also claim that they wouldn't be able to cover out of pocket expenses in excess of $1,000 or more. Those are scary stats. If they can't cover out-of-pocket expenses of $1,000 or more, how are they going to pay their groceries, their mortgage, their car payment, all that stuff? And again, that's where we come in. So when an event happens, where does someone go for help? And I'm assuming that you work. If you don't, that's fine. We'll just use this as an example. But if you have a major medical event, sometimes you have to tap into your retirement or savings. You certainly don't want to do that. If you're out of work because of that event and you try to get a loan and you're not working, banks aren't really going to look at you. Family, hate to borrow from your family. That creates a whole set of problems that we know of. Or your employer, and your employer doesn't have money to hand out to you. So basically, you're kind of stuck, and that's where Aflac comes in and pays you cash directly, so you can get through a financial or through a medical crisis. So I'm going to give you a quick example here on the screen of this was a cancer claim file. All right. And it's a story about Kathy. She's 41 years old. She's a working single mom and healthy, exercises regularly. But, cancer doesn't discriminate. You don't have to have family history for cancer. I mean, it happens to some of the healthiest people. In any event, she bought a single parent family plan, which was nice because the children were covered free of charge. But in any event, um, she was recently, she went on to be diagnosed with stage 2 breast cancer. So obviously, a lot of her concerns are overcoming the cancer, her out of pocket expenses, providing care for her kids, providing lost wages, and even emotional support, and keeping her family updated. So obviously, those are all concerns for her. Some of those we can help with, we can't help with all, but the financial part we can. So we'll take a look at basically what Kathy went through and what she was paid out. And I won't go through every benefit other than to say you started out with she had a biopsy. Then the initial diagnosis benefit was $5,000. She happened to have been smart enough to add the building benefit rider, which added an extra $1,000 to that. And then you can see the list of other benefits, including radiation, chemotherapy, the hospital stay, et cetera, post-therapy benefits. If you go down to the bottom right-hand corner, you can see that she was paid out in total $24,420. That's not chump change. That's significant money and obviously helped her get through a difficult time. Now, over that course of 2 years, Kathy only paid $968 in premiums. So she would have to own that policy probably an additional 18 years with no further cancer diagnosis for her to be even. So amazing. And Aflac even takes it one step further. On the first anniversary of a cancer diagnosis, Aflac sends the policyholder a check for $500. They do that every year for 5 years. Why? Well, it again encourages people to get screened, and I get people are going to get screened anyways. But that $500 almost covers, actually, for an individual plan, it covers the cost of the premiums. Anyways, Aflac does the right thing. They pay the claims quickly and get you the benefits you're looking for. So what I'm going to do now is go into the plans that are offered to individuals. Okay, these are people that don't get Aflac through a business, people just like you and me who may have insurance through the marketplace, but want something to supplement that. So first plan I'm going to show you all is an accident plan. Yes, this chart's a little bit of an eye chart, but I'm going to tell you the purpose of this plan and overall some of the things it covers. Basically, this is 24/7 on and off the job accidents. Okay, whether it's at work, home, doesn't matter. And that can be anything from a major car accident to reaching for a can of paint in the garage and straining your back. Okay. So if you do have to seek treatment, probably you're going to have a copay or whatever at the emergency room or doctor's office or whatever. So Aflac starts out by paying you $60 just to be evaluated. If you're hospitalized, they pay $1,000 and then $250 a day for your hospitalization. And that's up to a year if necessary. So if you have something major happen, boy, this plan would save you. And then basic things like ambulance, sound and air, if you need blood, major diagnostic exams, follow-up treatments, physical therapy, etc. There's even a wellness benefit after the plan's been enforced for a year. We'll pay the policyholder $80 a year thereafter to get a physical, dental checkup, eye checkup, etc. Okay. And there's even an organized sporting activity benefit on here to where if you play organized sports and if you get injured doing that, they'll increase your benefits by 25%. So that is the accident plan, number one. Number two is cancer plan. And I just kind of went through an example of how the cancer plan pays out. But basically, what you need to know about cancer is that nearly 1 in 2 men and over 1 in 3 women will be diagnosed with cancer over their lifetime. Those are pretty lousy statistics. And if you think for a moment, the things that you own insurance on, okay, if you got a 50-50 chance of being diagnosed with a major illness, may want to take a look at that. I know people that have insurance on their microwaves, their washers, dryers, cell phones, toys, etc. Again, certainly something to consider. So the plan does have a wellness benefit on it, similar to the accident plan, but the wellness benefit is for a cancer screening and it's for everybody on the policy. Children are covered at no additional charge on the policy. So $75 cancer screening. Now you might say, well, what kind of cancer screenings could children get? Well, females, when they turn 12, 13 years of age, whatever, if they have to start getting pap smears, that's a covered service. So if you're a single mom or a family and you have lots of girls and they're around that age, the wellness benefits will practically pay for that policy. If you're diagnosed, there is an initial diagnosis benefit of $5,000. We add a rider to that that builds $500 a year up until the date of diagnosis or your 65th birthday. So, for example, if you had the plan and you were diagnosed 10 years from now, you'd be paid $5,000 plus 10 years times 500 is another 5,000. So just for the diagnosis itself is $10,000. And then you go through all the other benefits on the page, whether it's radiation, chemo, immunotherapy, the annual care benefit I talked about, second opinions, big stuff like stem cell, bone marrow, experimental treatments. There's also skin cancer surgical treatments. Aflac treats melanoma as internal cancer, but as far as basal cell and squamous cell, there are surgical benefits for that. To qualify for the cancer plan, we don't ask whether you smoke or not. We don't ask about family history. It's very simple. If you've never been diagnosed with cancer, any type, any form, you qualify for the plan. If you have been diagnosed, your last treatment must be over 10 years ago. Okay. So those are the qualifications for the plan. And you had to have had a physical in the last 12 months checking for the presence of cancer. Okay. Again, no family history questions, etc. Next plan I'm going to show you is called critical care and recovery. And there's a reason why I'm showing you these three plans. A, they're what's available. And B, they go really good together. So if you were to go to the CDC, Center for Disease Control website, and looked at leading causes of mortality in the U.S., heart disease is number one, cancer is number two. And then 3, 4, and 5 kind of bounces back and forth between accidental injuries, lower respiratory infections, and stroke. So I've showed you an accident plan, which let's say that covers number 4. I've showed you a cancer plan, which covers number 2. This next plan is a critical care and recovery plan, and this covers 10 major health events listed on this page, including heart attack, stroke, bypass surgery, sudden cardiac arrest, and 6 other, not so common ailments. But if you suffer one of those events, Aflac's going to pay $10,000 just for the onset of the event. If something reoccurs, or if a different event occurs, we're going to pay you $5,000. Okay. So it's not like it's a one and done thing. If you have a secondary specified health event, which is basically an angioplasty with or without stents, okay, it pays $250. Certainly, if you have one of those events, you're going to be hospitalized. So it's going to pay $300 a day for your hospital room. And then continuing care benefits, that includes things like speech therapy, physical therapy, occupational therapy, things that get folks back on the feet after a stroke, heart attack, etc. Okay. Has transportation and lodging benefits like the cancer plan. So if you have to travel over 50 miles for treatment, we pay benefits there. It is a fantastic plan. It's very affordable, especially if you're in the younger years. And the next slide that I have up on the screen here is actually the pricing for everything. And if you have access to look at this and want to take a screenshot of it, these are the pricing on all the plans. So right up at the top is the accident plan. If you're an individual, it's going to cost you $28.21 a month. If you add your spouse, it's $35.55. That's not on top of, that's instead of. And then you see one parent family and 2 parent family. On cancer, and there's no age band, it's 18 to 64. On cancer, if you're 18 to 49, it's $33.50. If you're an insured and spouse, that's $57.79. There are a couple of riders I would suggest adding to that. So, like the initial diagnosis benefit rider, and then one parent family, as you can see, is the same price as an individual because children are covered free of charge. Critical care, that was the third plan that I showed you, and you have 4 age bands: 18 to 35, 36 to 45, etc. You look across from there, see what age band you are and how you want to cover your family, and let us know. On the bottom is dental, and I'm not sure whether that's something that we can offer or not, because I'm not sure if you're on dental plans through the marketplace. But if not, we do have standalone dental plans, and we can get you more details on those. So how would someone apply? I would ask you to email your contact info to either Gabe or myself and tell us the plans you're interested in. We can get you some additional brochures and pricing, and then basically get together with you either over the phone or in person and get you enrolled. There are a few medical questions on the plans. I talked about the one on cancer and the accident plan. It basically asks you if you've been convicted of a felony or had a DUI in the last 5 years. On the critical care plan, the underwriting questions are basically suited towards if you had last 5 years heart attacks, ischemic attack, type 2 diabetes, still smoking, etc. So there are some medical questions. It's not too difficult, but I wanted to let you know that up front. And then basically having a method of payment, you can do a monthly draft, bank draft, or debit or credit card. You can pay for the policy for a year or a quarter or a half a year with a check if you want. That's not something I recommend, but again, if that's something you want to do, it's doable. And just as a reminder, any plan that you get, our plans are guaranteed renewable for your lifetime, which means we can't cancel your coverage or raise your rates no matter how many claims you file or your age. And we do reserve the right to raise prices along a class of products, but Aflac hasn't done that in the 20 years I've been with them. So in any event, that is the story of Aflac, and I appreciate everyone's time this evening. And we'll look forward to hearing back from those that have some interest, and hopefully we can help some folks. Thank you. Have a good evening.